Hello and welcome to the Unity Craft channel. Here we cover intermediate and advanced topics in app development using the Unity engine. And in today's video we are going to talk about project static data, also known as project configuration or project balance. I've chosen this topic because static data is a fundamental part of project architecture. Many developers, especially those with less than a year of experience, often overlook or misunderstand this concept. So, question number one, what's project static data? Simply put, static data means a set of variables that don't change during application runtime. This data should be stored in a convenient way so that anyone on your team, especially game designers, can easily change the project's balance and configuration without having to look for all this data in different scripts. Examples of static data in Unity project include enemy stats like HP, damage and speed, players' initial health, attack power and movement speed, positions of enemy spawners, cooldown durations for abilities. So basically any data that isn't meant to change while the game is running can be considered static data. So any game or non-game project should have this static data to make application development and implementing new feature easier and more convenient for the team. So whether you are solo indie developer or you are part of a large team, using static data makes development more efficient. It allows for quick iterations and easier adjustments to game balance, saving your time and efforts in the long run. Talking about Unity, there are several ways to manage static data, but today we'll focus on the most common method using scriptable objects. Well, first it's important to note that using scriptable objects for static data is different from designing an entire architecture on scriptable objects. In this video we are focusing solely on project configuration. If you are interested in scriptable object-based architecture, there are plenty of great resources on YouTube and you can check them out. Scriptable objects are incredibly handy because they allow anyone on your team to adjust game data without touching the code. This is especially useful for game designers who want to tweak values pretty quickly. Well guys, now it's time to move on to practical example. I've created a simple project using free assets from the Unity Asset Store. You play as a brave dog knight fighting off goblins attacking your village. Well, first of all, let's start with not perfect examples how to hardcode your static data. In the hero health script I have a serialized field for max health. In the hero movement script there is a constant called speed. And in the hero attack script I have hard-coded fields like damage, radius and attack cooldown. Well, this approach is inefficient because if you want to change the hero stats or game balance, you have to search it through multiple scripts. It's time consuming, especially as your project grows. And I've seen so many developers fall into this trap, so I wanted to show you a better way how to approach static data using scriptable objects. So, here is a hero static data scriptable object class. It contains all the configuration data for our hero, like damage radius, damage cooldown, initial position, initial health. And when creating such classes, I recommend using Unity attributes like range, min or max to validate the data. Also, in case you have never made any scriptable objects before, you need to inherit the static data class from scriptable object and write the Unity attribute create asset menu. Write menu name and file name to be able to create scriptable object file inside your Unity folder. And since scriptable objects are just containers for data, it's okay to use public fields. If you prefer not to, you can use properties or serialized private fields. But in my opinion, public fields are perfectly fine here because we are not dealing with encapsulation sensitive logic. I also created other scriptable objects like audio static data, enemy static data, enemy spawner static data to manage different aspects of the game. By the way, use serializable attribute, so Unity would be able to serialize the data and show it in the inspector. Well, now we have created all scriptable objects and look how it is beautiful. We can change all the configuration of our project so easily and so fast. That's so much better and more convenient than it used to be. Well, now we have the scriptable objects. The next question is, how your game scripts can get the scriptable object files. I know several approaches to this. The first one is the resource folder. We can load scriptable objects from the resources folder. This method is simple but has downsides like loading all data into memory at startup without dynamic unloading. Also, we can use addressables. This is what I used in my project. Addressables allow you to load data on demand and even update configurations remotely without releasing a new version of your game. Also, you can use simple serialized fields. You can directly assign scriptable objects through the inspector. And in Zenject, they have scriptable object installer in case you use Zenject and know how to use it. You can bind this scriptable object file so your other scripts could get this data. And now I will show you how I get data from my scriptable objects and deliver it to all other classes that actually need the static data. Let's fix the scripts that I showed you before. Let's remove all the fields that we created as bad example of hero configuration. Now I think the best way to work with static data is to create one script that gets scriptable objects and can give data from the scriptable objects to all other scripts that need it. In my case, the script is called static data. Here we can see that it loads static data, and by the way, inside asset provider I use addressables, so I load all my scriptable object files using addressables and give the static data where it's needed. Now let's talk how our hero scripts like hero movement, hero attack and so on can receive static data class as dependency, use the method getHeroData. In my case, I use Zenject and I bind the static data inside the DI container for project context. So if you don't like or don't know Zenject, it's fine. I guess I will make some videos about Zenject later. There are some possible ways how you can send this static data class as dependency to hero movement class, for example. Instead of using Zenject, you can make this class static and use it as a singleton, or you can make service locator. Unfortunately, singleton and service locator is not a big topic and we will not talk about it now. Or you can make an entry point, composite root, bootstrapper, and here you can create this static data class and then send it as dependency to anyone that needs it manually. So now we have our static data inside our hero monobehavior scripts. Let's run the game so we would see that everything is working. And now let's change the balance for our game. So you see how easily it was to change project configuration. We don't even need to open any scripts, we just use very convenient tooling provided by Unity, and that approach will for sure make development of any project more simple and convenient for you and your team. By the way, another good way to represent static data for your project is to use JSON files instead of scriptable objects. You can upload these files to the cloud and then change your project configuration without the need to update your app in the stores by simply changing static data in JSON files on the server, which is very nice. So, let's make a conclusion over there. All the variables that don't change during application runtime can be added to project static data. Static data can be represented by scriptable object files, JSON files, and some other methods. If you are working with scriptable object files, we need to create all these files first. Then we need to make one script, in my case it was static data, that will get all these scriptable object files using serialized fields, or Zenject, or resources, or addressables, and we'll have methods how other scripts, for example hero movement, will get this data. Hero movement script will get static data script as dependency using, for instance, DI framework, singletons, service provider, or manually. And by the way, I don't recommend using singletons in serious commercial projects. And that is how your game classes like hero movement will be able to get static data, and that will help you to change balance and configuration of your game insanely easily. So guys, I guess this is it. If you think that I missed something important or was not precise somewhere, please write it in the comments. I will appreciate any feedback. If you like the video, you can also leave the comment. I will appreciate it very much. Also press like and subscribe button. More useful videos about Unity architecture will be coming soon, and see you later on Unity Craft channel.